Welcome to the Ladies Talk Show. This is your host, Leah Richheimer. We are doing shalom bayis. Let's go for it. Gila, what's the questions today?
Okay, so Hannah's coming in with a question. My parents favored my sister growing up. She got the clothes and the gifts and the quality time with my parents.
Oi.
Yeah. Growing up, she always had everything better in her life. Now we are both married, but she got the better husband too. He makes money, he spends time with their kids, he's charismatic. I resent her so much, and I resent my husband for keeping me stuck in this cycle.
Oi, oi, oi. Serious psychological assessment needed. This is besides it being, so first of all, let's just say that it's all true what you're saying. That's one set of problems. Let's just say none of it's true and it's all in your head. That's another set of problems. So I don't know which one this is. So let's start with the one that it is true. Your parents favored her more, and now she does, she has everything better in her life, including a better husband. That is everything else that she was treated better and whatever, all of those wounds and that pain and that unfairness and that a person becomes embittered with this kind of a life, circumstances. I mean, in some sense, if everybody was poverty stricken in the family, that leaves it certain wounds and scars, but that affects everybody. But if you feel singled out for bad treatment, that scars in a unique way. So that would make it very, very hard. So for that aspect, if that's what's going on, I definitely think you need to speak with somebody and say, look, my parents were just so unfair to me, and I feel like, I feel unloved, and I feel like they were wrong in what they did, and I feel like my sister got everything, and blah blah blah. So that would need to be solved. Then let's say that we're going to the scenario where it's all in your head, where you felt like, there's some people who are born and they're born feeling like life is not fair and everybody gets better than me, and that all outside circumstances, how they affect you, you're a victim to. You're a victim to the way the world bonks you around like a ping pong ball, all the different things. And some people have that very, very strongly. And it is only through very, very deep, hard work that a woman or a person comes to the realization that God gave you exactly what you needed to become the person that you did. And if you hadn't had that hardship, you never would be as strong as you are. So these are things to examine, to do introspection out, to speak with a therapist, a rebbitzin, a confidant, a close confidant about, to try and make sense of them in your own head. But in that growth process, and a therapist is really most trained in how to bring a person through a process mentally to see things in a different light. Like if you were, quote unquote, singled out for being poorly treated by your parents, how to get over that, how to become mature and see it from a different light, see it from their perspective, to be able to have rahmanas, that they just didn't know better, a pity on them that they didn't know better. So there are methodologies in order for you to get over it and to move on with your life without that dragging you down, right? Okay, so that's very crucial. But if a lot of it's in your head, that's a whole other thing, because then it's kind of like you feel like a victim and you want to be the best person you want to be, you can possibly be, but you're slowed down by feeling a victim to the outside world. And there's a whole lot of literature out there about victimhood and being a victim, and how victims make victims, raise victims, and like that, of the outside world and outside things having the most control over us than our own thoughts and thinking and actions. So I would definitely start looking at articles and books and maybe different podcasts or something like that. Listening to people show shiurim, you can get Torah Anytime. Big shout out to Torah Anytime. There are a lot of great classes on there. And learn a little bit about what it is to be a victim, and so that you can recognize certain signposts that are making you feel that way. And with any type of introspection comes the growth and the wisdom to understand how to react in our current day situation. So your feelings towards your sister having a better life, a better husband, about whatever, that would make it awfully hard to have a a close relationship with her. And if it is true that your parents really treated her better and treated you horribly, and it was really, a lot of it probably might be in your head, but let's say the facts are the facts, and they gave her a lot of clothes and you wore hand-me-downs or whatever it is. If it really was that kind of a situation, you might end up having to be a little bit distant from your sister for a while, until you are able to heal those old wounds. And it also depends on how she treats you. If she knows it and she's like, yeah, mom and dad didn't do the right thing by being so, nice to me and not nice to you and whatever. And yeah, and because of that, I'm gonna I'm gonna take you shopping for your birthday every year and buy you a wardrobe or what. I'm making up some crazy thing, but I'm just saying, if your sister really gets it and she wants to make up to you for what they did, or she understands it, or she hears you, whatever, you can still be very, very close with her, even though your parents are the ones who made the mistake. So again, these are just a lot of food for thought for you to wrap your head around some of these things and to figure out for yourself what a good direction is going. And your goal is to appreciate your own husband more, to not compare yourself to your sister or her husband, and to be able to work on shalom bayis, free from outside, victimhood slowing you down from doing that. Very, very good question, and you should be commended for having that question, the koyach, the strength to overcome these challenges.
Amen.
Okay.
Okay, Ashira Sarah is asking, such a pretty name. I'm working so hard on my marriage, and I feel like, no, I know I've come a long way. I asked my husband if he has noticed, and he said no. I feel so crushed.
Yeah.
I've been doing such hard emotional and physical work, and I'm annoyed at him that he can't even notice. What's the point at all?
Aw, I totally hear. So first of all, I'm giving you a personal round of applause. Everybody
Me
else
too.
here.
I'm also
Yeah,
clapping.
everyone's clapping for you. Yay. You really, really good job. And that's really hard. So I would actually tell your husband and say, I'm not sure what to do. I've been working so hard and it really hurt my feelings when you said you didn't notice anything. Even if you did, I'd rather you lied and said, yeah, wow. You can kind of joke around like that, but say, do you mind if I point out some of the things that I've been working on, and maybe that'll help you see. So I don't know if you've noticed, but it used to be when you came home, I was frazzled and doing 14 different things. Now I make the lunches the night before, and now whatever dinner. I'm making simpler dinners, but at least they're ready on, so that they'll be ready on time, and the kid, whatever it is, whatever the little things that you've been growing in, share them with him. And the risk in doing that is that then he doesn't deliver. He's like, yeah, well, that's not something so great, whatever, so if he does that, then you say, I need huge amount of appreciation for these things. They weren't easy for me. I worked very, very hard on them. Why? Because I want an aliyah and shalom bayis. I want to grow in my shalom bayis with you, and I want a better home and a better, happier life and whatever. And I'm really working so hard. And when you said to me the other day that you really, didn't notice or whatever, it kind of felt a little crushing. So I want you right now to tell me that, I want to tell you all the things I did. And after I tell you each one, I want you to say, great job, good for you. Okay, I really need that from you right now. And hopefully, Meretz Hashem, he'll pull through for you. And if not, try again. Say, okay, that was that I didn't get all the appreciation I need. I'll be happy with that for now. But I'm just going to tell you, ongoingly, I need appreciation for how hard I'm working on our marriage. And Amir Hashem, he'll get with the program. And the more facets you do of shalom bayis, you respect him more, you listen to him more, you get your needs met more and give him that satisfaction in meeting your needs. And, all these little particles of making a shalom, growing your shalom bayis. As you're doing that, then it'll just become more and more natural for him to want to give you the kind of appreciation you need and noticing it more. So good question. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, great. Miriam's asking, my husband encouraged me to take an evening job. I don't mind and I'm managing life fine, but he complains to me that he ends up doing so many of the bedtimes. I suggested getting a babysitter, but he got annoyed at my suggestion because what's the point in me working to spend it on a babysitter? He wants me to take this job and I don't think it's fair that he makes me feel guilty about it.
Right. And you're 100% right. Being right isn't everything, but in this case, you're right. So the question is, I just pose that question to him and say, okay, listen, I can either take the job and you do a lot of the bedtimes, or I cannot take the job, but for you to take for me to take this job because you want me to, and then complain about the thing, you're putting me in such a bad place. I feel horrible. I feel horrible that I'm working and not taking care of the kids, and I feel horrible that I'm making you do more than you want to do, but you're the one who told me to do it. So, do you understand my predicament here? You're putting me in this weird place. What do you want from me? Again, I'm saying it a little bit harsher than you should say it. You should say it as sweetly and nicely as you possibly can, but this needs to be placed back in his lap, and he needs to come to you with a better solution. And whether that is, and it could be, that there's a compromise solution, which is no, you don't get a babysit every night. Then what's the point of you working? But it could be that on Mondays and Wednesdays, so he's only doing it two Tuesdays and Thursdays or something like that. And hopefully that'll ease his burden and won't be too costly and will still be worthwhile for you to work. So find some kind of compromise. But again, bottom line, you're putting the problem in his lap to help you solve. Very good.
Okay, great. Put it in his lap, like we
Yeah.
say. Okay. Yocheved's question is, my husband prefers to be alone as he is very introverted. I accepted that at the beginning of our marriage, but now that we have kids, things are so different. He's always escaping to the bedroom or the car to get away from the kids. When he is with them, he is kind and loving, but his default is to always get away from them. Maybe he's just overstimulated. Okay. He only
Hmm.
likes to spend time with me, and our marriage is fine, but I feel like it's so damaging, and I'm worried about the psychological impact this is having on our kids.
Right. So good news for you. You don't need to worry about it at all. Like zero. Gone from your list of things to worry about. If you have shalom bayis with your husband and you have a good relationship, sometimes a man just doesn't feel comfortable with little kids. He might be much, much better. An introvert is usually really, really good having good conversations with a teenager. It's just different ages and stages. And if you see that he has an adversarial relationship with them, or he has a unhealthy or mentally
Friction.
friction and fighting and unpleasantness, that then you need to bring in a therapist, or you need to go see a therapist, or you need to read books on family dynamics or something like that. But if he has a perfectly good relationship with them, but he just needs them less, zero worth any energy on your part feeling badly or whatever. It's going to be fine. You have shalom bayis with your husband. They see you guys, being sweet to each other and nice and talking nice to each other. And, they see that there's a lot of shalom bayis between the two of you. That's zehu. That's it. You need to raise healthy, wonderful children. That's not Leah Richheimer's. That's Rav Elchanan Wasserman. He talks about 95% of child rearing is shalom bayis. So if you have that, all these other little details don't matter all that much. You could have a conversation with them and say, I see that you you have a limited amount of capacity with the kids. I know they're noisy, whatever. But I was thinking, I know you grew up with loving Legos, and I thought maybe if you and the kids build a Lego castle together, you'd have more patience for him. What do you think about that? Like, try and use your creativity, your Bini Sarah, your women's intuition to come up with ways that he can interact with the kids that would be more enjoyable for him and less invasive. Maybe even being outside where they're playing frisbee, where the kids are way over there. I don't know. Use your creativity, try different activities, maybe, having silent time with daddy. So everybody gets a coloring book, including daddy, or whatever. Daddy gets his safer that he's reading, or I was going to say newspaper, something, he's reading something and they're doing coloring, but everybody has duct tape over their mouth. Ha ha, not torture. I'm taking joking. I'm just, a game type of a thing. So thinking of ways that he can interact with them could help the situation if it even needs help. But I don't, frankly, again, you can try these kinds of things, but without any worry, zero worry that his relationship with the kids isn't going to be wonderful. It's fine. You have shalom bayis with him, it's fine. As long as there's not fighting and misery, just go with it. Let it be how it is. That's the father they got. Maybe they'll be more able to be accepting of themselves if you're accepting of their husband. Who knows what'll come of it, but let it be. Good question. Wow. Okay, what
I
else?
love all the practical tools you just gave. I have to give
Yeah.
that another listen. Okay.
Yeah, I
Um,
don't know about the duct tape. That maybe was a little bit
no,
whatever,
but the
but
quiet coloring game, there's a way to adjust it. It's nice.
yeah.
Okay.
So
Toby's asking, I'm a stay-at-home mother and I feel fortunate to be home to raise our kids. Sometimes after a long day at work, my husband will vent about his long day and I will about mine, with which he'll respond, I don't get it. You're home all day. Why are you tired? It's very condescending and hurtful and I don't feel valued.
I hear it, and I think you should say it exactly the way you said it to me. You should say it to him, but in a softer way, like, saying, listen, there's something I want to talk about. It. I don't want to make a big mountain out of a molehill. This isn't like the end of the world or whatever. I just want to mention something because it kind of hurt my feelings a little bit, and I'm just hoping, that you can give it some thought and things will go better in the future. And that's just basically when you said that you don't know why I'm so tired when I'm home all day, whatever. It's hard work, and I know a lot of husbands, when their wife gets sick and the husband has to do it for a day, they're like, you do it. So I'm just saying, whatever. I just want to let you know that so that you could understand that it makes sense that I'm tired and exhausted. Most women are. It's emotionally exhausting day, and I don't need you to do anything differently except it's important to me that you understand that and say, I hear you, sweetie pie. That's all I need you to say right now. And then I'll say, I'm sorry, sweetie pie, or whatever, like that. So it's I wouldn't make a mountain out of a molehill out of it and, make a big deal out of it. But just sharing your heartfelt feelings with him from your heart, please God, it'll go to his heart. Good question. Okay.
Okay, I'm new to all this. Shauna's asking, I'm new to all the shalom bias work. Can you give me one small action I can do which will bring about change in my marriage?
Oh, that's a good question. I would say, start. This one's an easy one. Not easy, but easy to remember what to do, but it's hard to do, is to not interrupt your husband. To not interrupt your husband. And the reason I say that, there's so many things that are attached to that, like that will up your listening to him. And the more you listen to your husband, the more connected he will be. Not, when you not don't interrupt him, he'll feel more respected. And so then he'll want to be closer to you. And there's a lot of awesome benefits from not interrupting him. Also, it'll train you. This is my king. It also train your children. This is how we treat somebody who with authority, which means that when he's in when your kids are teenagers, they'll look up to him because this is how you treat somebody who's an authority figure in your life. So there's so many ramifications from just that one little thing. That's a really wonderful place to start. Good luck with it. Good for you.
Okay, Devoiri's asking, I like to wear makeup and feel feminine, but my husband doesn't like it. I know that I should be doing what my husband likes, but it's conflicting so much with my feminine nature. I've spoken to him about it a few times and done what you say about putting the problem in his lap. And whilst he's usually easygoing, for some reason with this, he will not relent. I can't understand why he wouldn't want me to look my best, and I've been feeling so upset and distant to him.
I hear. So a couple of things. One is are you one of these people who put on 4 things of foundation and eyeliner and it takes you 3 hours to put your makeup on, whatever, and you don't feel like yourself unless you have the lipstick liner exactly on the, whatever, or are you a person who just throws a little blush on and a little eyeliner and he objects to that? So it makes a huge difference. If you're the big, huge, makeup wearer and you got into that and you love doing that, and he doesn't want you to either because of the way it looks or because of the time it takes or whatever, that's quite a different problem. So I'm not answering that. I'm going to answer both, which is if you're a big foundation types of person, then maybe you can do a can't compromise of, doing a little blush and a little eyeliner, which he may not even notice. Okay. And if you are I mean, not that you're doing it behind his back, but that, you say, okay, okay, I'm not doing my whole face, or whatever, which is true. I'm just doing part of my face, but whatever. But you could just put a little blush on, he probably wouldn't notice. If he objects to even a little blush and a little eyeliner or something like that, or a little bit of lipstick or something, then it's a different issue, which is, you're feeling pretty about yourself. And there, the question is, there's a difference between whether you're going out the house or staying home. If you're staying home and you like to put on your full makeup, or you like to put on light makeup, or whatever level that you're doing, if you're doing it at home, maybe the compromise, when you're home with him, you don't bother, you don't do, he prefers it, good. But when you're going out to either a simcha, or you're going out to the grocery store or something like that, and you feel prettier wearing lipstick when you're, seeing your friends in the grocery store, you could say, listen, is it, maybe a compromise we could do is, when I go to the grocery store, I'm going to put it on. When I come home, I'll take the lipstick off, something like that. Work with him, try and give him, shades of gray. It's not black and white, but where are shades of gray that would make you happy, that would also make him happy. And this can be extrapolated. If you don't have this issue with makeup, whatever issue that whoever, when you're listening to this show, whatever issue you have that's similar to that, try and extrapolate that out, finding shades of gray, because that's always a good way for him to, both, neither of you is going to be the quote unquote winner of this thing, but both of you are going to be able to hopefully find a solution in the middle that will make you happy and that will also make him happy. Okay, great question.
Hey, Estee's asking, my husband puts his arms around me and things like that. And as the kids are getting older, I don't think it's good for them to see it. He doesn't agree and thinks it's fine. I don't know where to go with it.
So my first question is, when you have a conversation about it, what is his thoughts? What does he think? What's his plan? What's his, goal? So you can, if you have not had that conversation with him, I would sit down, make sure you're both well fed, well rested. You're not fighting about something else. You don't have all these resentments about other issues, that you're in a reasonably harmonious place, and, and that you've got time to cover it. And I would say, listen, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but I just want to say, when our kids are 18 and we're, when they're at the age when we're going to marry them off and start getting, what do you want them to, what's our goal? Well, I want them to be your Shemayim. I want them to be, fear of heaven. I want them to have Avos Yisrael, love the Yidden. I want them to, whatever, talk about your goals for the children, and then say, okay, if those are our goals, how do you think our having physical affection in public or in front of them affects them, yes or no, towards our goal? So that's, again, I'm giving you the sort of bare bones, skeleton bones of what it would look like. You need to put all the window dressing on top of it to sound like yourself, and also to be in a way that your husband can really hear what you're trying to say. But you want to couch it in, what are the two of your long-term goals, and is this reaching them or is it not reaching them? So again, I would start off by saying, you don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill. You don't want to blow this out of proportion, but you really do want to have some clarity on where you're going. To just leave it up to chance, there's one solid bad trait and one solid good trait so there's one bad quality that leads to all the bad midos, and there's one good quality that leads to all the good qualities in a person. So the one bad one is to let life go in whatever way it goes, whatever, to not think about it and just let life go. That leads to all evils and all, theft and, whatever bad attributes you can think of, all are sourced in letting life just go on its natural course. Okay. All good qualities come from the single one source of putting the right thing to do ahead of your personal ambitions or goal, that for first, front and foremost in your life is, what is the right thing to do? What Hashem wants me to do? That will lead to all good qualities of chesed, being kind, being good, being generous, good outcomes, all good character traits come from the source of doing the introspection and the work necessary to do what is right over what your inclination is. Okay. So in this situation, if you are thinking about what your goals are for your children, right? And you're thinking about what what is our thinking about this? In thinking about this, what do we want to accomplish? And then you direct it towards there. It's going to lead to the correct decision at this stage in your lives. And that's what you're going to ask your husband. And he might say, oh, I want our kids to, feel like, we're close. And like, well, they can see that in different ways. This has the, potential negative side aspect of them thinking of their parents in a physical way, which may not be so good for their growth when they're hitting teenage years. All of these aspects need to be thought about, discussed, maybe even get a Rav's opinion or get a therapist's opinion or get somebody, a wise a counselor in your lives thoughts, somebody who is learned and wise, a dastura, somebody, and finding out whether this is a good thing to do, a bad thing, what are the ramifications. You just don't want to do it without thinking. So he obviously, your husband probably has thinking in his mind. He wants the children to feel like he's got parents who love each other. And that may or may not be misguided, because that while that could be true, it has other negative ramifications. So all of that needs to be looked at. I'm trying not to put my own judgment. Leah Richheimer's judgment has nothing to do with me. This has to do with your decisions that you make together based on what your goals are for when you're sending them off to get married. So it's again, very, very deep question. I like the question very much. It's fantastic you're thinking about it. I wouldn't be angry at your husband. I wouldn't berate your husband. I wouldn't lecture your husband and say how smart you are and how unsmart he is for thinking of the way that he's thinking. But again, handled well, with kindness, with generosity, and with really going into it as an inquiry and what's the best thing for your family. That attitude that you bring into that conversation with him will go a long way. Good luck with it. It's a challenging thing, but you're up to it. God willing, Hashem should give you kayak to be up for it.
Okay, beautiful. Time for one last question.
Okay.
Hyla's asking, I bring in a lot more parnassah than my husband, and I feel like my husband feels jealous because he minimizes what I do. We can't afford for me to quit. I try to give him the say in how we spend our money, but all in all, it's a very sensitive subject. I feel stuck. What should I do?
So I'm not sure why he's belittling her for her work, especially because it's so good for the family. The only thing is that, look, sometimes I say things and it's like, oh, well, she's blaming the victim. I'm not doing that at all. When I say to go introspect and to look into things, it's because that gives you power. Like if you understand what your mentality is or what's going on, then you don't have to be victim to the circumstances. So the question I'm about to ask is going to sound like I'm blaming the victim, but that's not where I'm coming from at all. And that is that oftentimes when somebody belittles somebody, it's because they themselves feel belittled. So if you can just examine and honestly assess, is there anything you are saying or doing in your marriage that makes your husband feel belittled? Are you lording over to him that you make more money than he is? Are you making him feel less than because he's got a smaller job than you do or a less paid money job than you do? So it's very, very crucial for you to examine that, because if there's any truth to what I'm saying, then if you correct that, you will correct him belittling you. If there's no truth at all, there's like no way, no, Leah, not at all. I don't belittle him in any way, shape, or form. Okay, let's say that that's the case. Then you need to have a serious conversation with your husband and say, listen, I don't want to make a mountain out of a molehill, but it's very, very important to me that you understand when you belittle me, it hurts my feelings really badly because I'm working so hard to try and make it for the family. And I feel like, for whatever reason, God gave me this salary and you that salary. I don't know why God did it, but it's not my fault, and I feel like when you say some of these unkind things, and you didn't mention what they are, so I'd be very curious, but when you say these things that make me feel belittled, it makes me feel like you don't appreciate me, you don't love me as much, you don't accept me as much. And those aren't feelings that feel comfortable for me. And I really wish, can we examine why you would say those things? Or do you want to just, when you say them, at the time you say them, do you want me to like make you aware of it? Not in front of the kids, not in front of, whatever, but later say, hey, by the way, today, when you said, why do you have that job? Whatever you said, do you want me to point it out to you each time? How are we going to correct this so that I don't get my feelings hurt? And Emir Hashem, with the right conversation, the right coming from the right place, and using your bina Sarah, your women's intuition, Meretz Hashem, you can have a conversation that can make a huge difference and nip this in the bud. And I give you a bracha that it gets nipped in the bud, and you should daven to Hashem to help you with this important conversation. Okay, I better give you the homework. The homework for this week. One time this week, do a beautiful, kind act for your husband. So I don't care whether that's like making his favorite dinner, or whether it's tucking a little note in his lunchbox or his suit jacket or something like that, or giving him a gift that he's wanted. He kept talking about he wants this, special, I don't know, a baseball glove, or that's a boy, not your son. Sorry, something. I don't know. Your husband wants something, a mechanical thing, something he wanted. Buy him for it. Do one nice, sweet, yummy thing for your husband this week. Okay, it's Leah Richheimer for the Ladies Talk Show. We'll see you next time.